Today we're checking out the Play Zone, which has, let's look right here, 38,600 games, what they're claiming. It is a lot of games, everything from PlayStation 3. They even have Nintendo Switch. Speaking of the Switch, they have the new Zelda as well on there. Tears of the Kingdom. They got some PS2, some PS3. They don't have Nintendo 3DS. They have very light on the newer systems, but you're going to get this on a 2 terabyte hard drive SSD. So it's going to be solid state, no spinning discs. And this thing has some pros and cons, so we're going to go ahead and check it out. My last video I did with the Play Night setup similar to this. People said, can you play more of those PC games? That's what makes this device so intriguing, so I definitely did that and have some more to report out to you. But in this video, we'll go ahead and check out all the collections, all the games, and then play some, check out the performance, and give you my overall thoughts, as well as we'll take apart the actual hard drive that you get so you see what you're getting into. So to get things started, you boot up Retro Bat, and then you have a little startup thing, and then a startup introduction video, and then you get right in. Let's go ahead. You have Retro Bat, the menu item here. You have favorites you can add and delete to this to make it easier to find what you want to play. As far as all games, this number is highly inflated. Certain systems have a ton of games that are just garbage, and then some systems you probably wish they had different games. But we're gonna go and show you what's on this just in a moment here. So Retro Bat, if you go in there, you're gonna have all the different emulators. And so that's nice to have a shortcut to go to all those to change your settings or controls or things like that. So Final Burn Neo, I don't even know why they have this category. Really, it's just the main category here, which is going to be all your arcade games. There's 2,100 arcade games. You can hit your R1 button to go down, and you can go down A. You hit select on your controller here to jump down to a certain letter. For example, if I wanted Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, I'd go down to U, and then there it is, Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3. So a decent arcade set, not amazing, but decent. Atari, I'm not going to go into all these, but you got 2,600, 900, 5,200, you've got 95, and you can look in the bottom left corner of your screen as I'm scrolling through if you want to see that. 65 games for 7,800, 64 for Jaguar. And then Sufami, like this is where like the all games thing is kind of weird to me, because if you go into Sufami, you're going to see like some SNES games and some other stuff, and a lot of Japanese releases. So it's kind of inflating that number that I think a lot of people aren't actually going to play some of those games. Wonder Swan Color is going to have all those games if that's what you're into, 113 and 91. The next 4 or 5 systems as well, ColecoVision, 146, Intellivision, 149. And I'm not going to go into these systems because these are pretty standard, 605 for these types of things. But don't worry, we're going to get to the PlayStations, the PSPs. I'll probably put timestamps in this video so you can jump around. PC Engine, so 298, that's nice to see. PC Engine was a really cool system that not a lot of people got to experience, and so you should check it out. It looks like there might be some mature games in there as well, so be careful. Game & Watch, right under 60. So here you go, Nintendo, and here's where it gets a little crazy. Like, this should only be about 1,000 games tops, but as you go in here, you'll notice that there's going to be some of the Japanese titles. There's also going to be some homebrews and things like that, because if you hit select, you go over to S for Super Mario, for example. I'll just show you there actually is some hacked Super Marios in here. Now, I don't mind that. What really bothers me is just the Japanese games in here. Like, come on, just leave it to the different regions. But actually, they actually don't have Super Famicom and all that in the list here, so it's actually not horrible. Like, they're not double dipping too much from that regard, but it's just kind of unorganized and some of the naming structures, things like that. So you have Super Mario Bros. Duck Hunt Super Mario Bros. World Track Meet, Super Mario Bros. Tetris World Cup 2, 3, 6, which is a homebrew, and then the Lost World Levels, which is the not the homebrew, but the international. Super Mario Bros. Hacks, Super Mario USA, and then Super Mario World, which is, I believe, a hack. So, anyways, yeah. Anyways, a bootleg port, exactly. Okay. So that's a little weird, but that's there. Game Boy. It's going to have all your Game Boy games, but again, it's got like the Japanese games built into there, whatever else got going on. But as far as Pokemon Blue, Yellow, it's all there. Super Nintendo. Now, this one is actually well sorted out. But something I've noticed as I was sorting through these games is like some consoles, you'll have like the box art. Like most of them, you have box art. but some of them you actually have. I guess you have all of them. Okay, but as I move forward, when I went to, for example, which system was it that I went to? Okay, here you go. Game Boy Advanced. They're actually screenshots of in the game, what the inside the game looks like, right? So that was kind of weird. That some were boxes, some were not. So back to Super Nintendo, it's going to have all your favorite Super Nintendo games, all the box art, things like that, and it's well sorted out with all the metadata, everything there in the right corner. Super Game Boy, so this is just a repeat of the Game Boy directory, basically, but it's there. So you'll see all the Game Boy Color games here. And if you go to Game Boy Color, those same games will be here as well. 1,289. Isn't that the same exact number? Yeah, it's just the same. Like, that's the same. Okay. Nintendo 64. So it does have, I don't know. The 461 is kind of weird to me. They're going to have Japanese games in there as well. So, but it does have like most of the US releases, if that's what you're interested in. So I did play GoldenEye. Unfortunately, my capture card didn't get it, but it was playing fine just on my computer. And the lag was about normal. You can optimize some of that. It is being opened with the correct emulator, MuPin 64. And the controls worked, which is good. So Nintendo GameCube. Here's where the system really gets interesting to me, and I think a lot of my viewers as well, for 3 reasons. And I'll tell you those 3 reasons while I go through the games list here. Number 1, GameCube games in particular are incredibly expensive. So, there's the money factor. Number 2, the system was disc ran. Discs can scratch over time. So you can play these games as much as you want, save the state as much as you want, and never do it. Never worry about it. And then number 3 is that these games are large files to download. So if you have a slow internet connection, then this is really helpful. Or if you have a data cap on your internet, something like that. So this is what you're going to get in there. Not bad. It's a nice little set for you. Not amazing, better, but for 2 terabytes, not bad. So we already discussed Game Boy Advance. Or no, we haven't. This one is just wild. Everything. 3-in-1 games, 2-in-1 games, you name it. It's got it. It's got everything. It's a little out of control in my opinion, but it has every game. If you ever wanted to play Game Boy Advance, it's going to have all your games. Nintendo DS is a small collection, actually. So here, I'll just go through that really quick since, we can get through it pretty quick. And that's fine. I usually don't emulate DS too much just because it's the dual screen and everything else, but there were some good games for it. Also, Nintendo DS games are not that expensive. Most of them are. I'm sure there's some that are expensive. So only 2 Wii games. I'm not too upset about that. But Wii U, you got 2 games. Again, I'm not too upset about that. It's only a 2 terabyte hard drive, so you can only fit so much on this thing. So Nintendo Switch, so you get a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 games. But it's got the good games, right? The more games that you're probably going to come for. Or there's a lot more titles, but they're more popular games. And again, this system is a big system, meaning the games themselves are large files, so you can't just put everything on there. So I think we're in a Thomas Wave right now, pretty much a standard collection you're going to see on all these builds. SG-1000, you've got 98. So Sega Mega Drive, again, I think this one's fairly big, yeah, so it's going to be a mix of Japanese games and European and US releases. So quite a big collection there, about 1,200. So Game Gear, we're up to 406, all of them. 32X is all of them. Sega Saturn will go in there and show you what's there. I think it's like around 100 or so. Or probably even less than that, actually. But it's talk about a system that's 36 actually only. Talk about a system that's expensive. Dreamcast, you'll notice some duplicates in here. The duplicates are actually not duplicates. These are multi-disc games. There was a disc 1 and a disc 2. So like Shenmue and Shenmue 2, Skies of Arcadia. And so you'll notice some of these games were for Dreamcast as well. So you want to look through both of those. If there's a particular game you're looking for, it might be in either one. Okay. Now, this is running Launchbox. I guess I'll wait to finish the game before I get into that, but or not Launchbox. This is running RetroBat, which is so ZX Sinclair Spectrum. This is where they just stuff a bunch of games. You're never going to play 8,000 of these games, but it makes the number of the total games look great. Neo Geo Pocket Color. It's going to have all your games. It doesn't have Neo Geo CD if that's something you're interested in. PlayStation was actually a pretty small set. I'll talk about RetroBat while we're going through this set of PlayStation games. And you'll notice, again, some of these PlayStation games have multiple discs. That's why you're actually getting a lot less PlayStation games than it looks like. But RetroBat, I'll show you in a second all the cool themes that you can add on to it. It does come with background music. There is an introduction video. You can swap a lot of that stuff out. You can add a second, third, even fourth controller, even Bluetooth if you have Bluetooth-enabled computer that you're hooking this up to. A lot of people ask, can you hook this up to like an Xbox or like whatever else? I don't think so. I think you want a computer, you want a little mini computer as far as viruses and things like that. Maybe like a secondary computer so it's not on your main driver. PlayStation 2, we're at 125. Let's go through there. And please note, there's a few of these hard drives now reviewed, so they're all a little different. And this one seems like it was just like they took an older build and then kind of added a few new games to it. I'll tell you my final review at the end, but this is a good time to let you know that, you don't have to buy these. You could build this thing yourself very, very, very easily. A lot of the software and the ROMs are out there for free, and you can go get them. But, I do these videos because some people would rather, they have the internet or they want to buy it for somebody else or whatever else the reason might be. So 97 PSP games, let's go through there. But I'll show you in RetroBat, you could change the emulator as well. You can change the shaders as well as far as how the game looks. You can save your state. You can rewind. You can speed things up. It's got a lot of customization as far as that. But that's pretty standard now in the emulation world. Most builds can do that. But in case you're curious, yes, this one can do that as well. PS3, this is what's kind of weird. You have these videos for the first one. You don't have one for the last one. Catherine, God of War Collection, God of War 3, and The Wolf Among Us. And then there we are back at all games. I want to show you RetroBat really quick. So you can change your game settings, things like that. User interface is where you want to go for the themes, and then it comes with 3 themes pre-downloaded, but if you go back here and then you go back again, go to updates and downloads, go to themes, look at this. So I'm going to just scroll through some, and you can see on the right side there, that's what they look like. So comic books coming up. The book one is really cool. The comic book strip here one is really cool. Epic Noir is really cool. There's so many. I hate to say that one is cool and one is not because people are like, you forgot to say this one. Yeah, there's so many. I'm probably forgetting some. You got Hursty's themes there. Beautiful. Next Level Remix. Simple Star Wars Tron. And yeah, you can download those if you'd like and give them a shot. So hitting just select and start on your controller does all that. Controller settings here, sound settings here. You can even update your system here. When you're in a game here, you can hit select. You can filter. You could change. You could go down by letter. You could do advanced system options and do pick the different emulator, different shaders, all kinds of stuff. A lot of customization you can do with this build. So this is Play Night, and this is where your AAA rated PC games will be. Not rated, but AAA PC games. Assassin's Creed 3 Remastered. You got Battletoads, Beholder 2, Brotato, Capcom Fighting Collection, and you can click the game and it'll tell you last time you played it, when the game was released. You can even change the game options as well. You got Creeks, Cult of the Lamb, Cuphead. So I played Cuphead, that worked just fine. Darkest Dungeon, Dave the Diver, Dead Cells. I played this in a previous video on a similar build, it worked just fine. Dreamlight Valley, I haven't seen that one on a lot of builds. Is this Dissidia, a Final Fantasy, free edition. So it's the free edition. Okay, and then Double Dragon. Dying Light, Soccer. Elder's Ring, I've played in a previous video on a previous build. I know it works. Euro Truck Simulator should work because I also played the Power Wash Simulator. That worked no problem. Far Lone Sales, Final Fantasy 4, Final Fantasy 5, Final Fantasy 6, Flippin' Cactus, God of War, Grand Theft Auto 3, 5, and San Andreas and Vice City, Grounded, Hades, Hollow Knight, Inside, Star Wars, Lego, Limbo, The Nightmares, Nightmares 2, Spider-Man I played and it works, Mega Man, Monster Prom, Monument Valley 1 and 2, Neon Abyss, Nobody Saves the World. Yep. Octopath Traveler, One Piece Odyssey, The Blind Forest, and the Will's Whisper, the thing there. P4G, Power Wash Simulator, I played. Prototype 2, Resident Evil 4, I played. They also have 2. Rimworld, Risk of Rain. We have Pacha. We have Samurai Showdown. More Samurai, Civilization 6, Skull, Speed Brawl. So Jedi Last Order, I did not get that to boot, but I didn't play around with it too much. You know, I wonder if people are going to get it just for this. Game options. Yeah, you can't really change much there. You know, when I click it, I didn't get it to work. I don't really want to mess around with it too much. I imagine the files are there. It might be a firewall thing, something else. I really don't want to get into it, but it's there. Steel Assault, Stray, Subnautica Below Zero, System Shock, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Shadow's Revenge, played in the past, it works just fine. Last of Us Part 1, this is the remastered version, because if you click it, you can see it was released just last year, and so that is the remastered version. The Witcher, Wild Hunt, War of Mine, Tombstar, Tunic, Tunnel of Doom, Trip, okay, WRC 8, Like a Dragon, and Yoku's Island Express. So there you go. This makes this whole build a lot more, you know, why people might not want to get it, because I understand that a lot of these games are still being sold on Steam, etc., etc. You know, I don't condone this type of thing. This hard drive was sent to me, so I'm just doing it for testing purposes. But you know, do note that it does come with all this. This is what you get in the mail. A little box that says Play Zone. Inside is a plastic bag with 2 different connectors. You have USB-C to USB-C if you have a newer laptop, or if you have an older laptop, you go USB-C to USB 3.0. Speed-wise, maybe it would be faster to use USB-C to USB-C, but I did put it in my USB 3.1 USB-A port. So, long story short, I did run a speed test on this. I'll throw it on the screen. Not very fast hard drive, as you would expect. But a lot of people like, you know, the solid state has no spinning parts in it. And it was a USB and some ventilation. The whole thing is a big thermal heatsink. You got LED lights on both sides. You've got the writing here, which I have no idea what that means. And then it's NVMe to Type-C. And then there's a lock and an unlock button on this side. You hit the unlock, it kind of ejects it a little bit, and then you can push it the rest of the way out. And that's the back. Here's the front. And then you can kind of just grab your finger here to loosen it, and you can peel it up if you want to take it off. One side. And then there is the other side. Maybe you can look up what those numbers are. But that's the type of drive you'll be getting. All right, cool. All right, so you do need to change your drive letter to G. So just go to your start menu, search hard drive, find all your hard drives, see them in the list up there like I have, change that drive on the play night build, and then change it to G, say yes, yes, and then you're good to go. So emulation test time, and first off is Cuphead. Along with many other PC games that we'll be checking out here. Runs perfect, no issues whatsoever. You can run that keyboard and mouse. You can also hook the controller. Resident Evil 4, I didn't actually get into a game, but it does come with the Mercenaries as well. I just wanted to boot it up to show you I'm having no issues whatsoever. This is the Power Wash Simulator, and as you see here, running no problem whatsoever, and so it works really well. 90% of these PC games work well. The only game I ran into issues with was the Star Wars game. Other than that, it worked great. The Witcher 3 ran great. Booted right up. You can get right into the game. Ran well. So as I keep talking about emulation performance, I'm going to also throw in my final thoughts on this build. My first thought is, you know, it's very similar to some of the other 2 terabyte builds out there. But now you know as far as this particular one, so I don't mind making videos this specific to this particular build. As far as the pros and the cons, the pros are a lot of it does work. And if you're not going to build this and you don't know how to do it all yourself, it works okay. It works well. Like it works, it's like a B. It's like a solid B product. It's definitely not an A, but it does what it says it's going to do for the most part. So here's GoldenEye 007 for N64. My capture card was just messed up. The game itself ran just fine. I just wanted to share with you that there's no... You can hear the audio back there. It was just fine. So here's Tears of Kingdom for the Switch. And this is where you might need a little bit more performance to run these games. A dedicated graphics card and things like that. But it ran just fine. So back to the pros and cons of this thing. The pro is that you plug it in, you change that hard drive letter, and you load up either Play Night and play all those great PC games, or you load up Retro Bat and you have all your childhood memories, all those retro games set for you. Now, it is missing a lot of games, especially as you get to the CD-based games, the larger games, Dreamcast, GameCube, Sega Saturn, or PlayStation 1 even, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3. Huge missing of games, and you get that with this particular price point. You're going to want to go a little bit bigger for the 4 or 5 terabyte. The other thing being, some games may be broken. I'm not testing 100% of the games. Most of what I tested, though, worked just fine. But I would say with the 90 to 95% working rate for many of them. Here's Spider-Man for PC remastered, and as you see, it runs really great. So pros and cons. Pros, the plug-and-playness of it. It's not 100% plug-and-play, but it's really close. It's as close as it gets with something like this. Unless you want to build it yourself, which I highly recommend building one of these yourself. You could do it, you can learn it. There's YouTube videos out there how to do it. It's free. So there's that. I haven't seen the price of this thing as of me posting the video, but if it's cheaper than the 4 terabyte or the 5 terabyte variants, then that's good. As far as, going for this versus a spinning 2 terabyte external drive, I'm not convinced. I honestly don't care myself. I would run a 2 terabyte spinning drive or run one of these drives. Neither of them are amazing, but they both just work. So that's how I feel about that. As far as cons, as you saw, lots of duplicates. The artwork's all over the place. You're going to have Japanese games mixing with US games. There's just a lot going on. Sometimes you don't know where to go, especially if you're new to all this. But also, you're spending more time, sorting through the games and getting to where you want than actual gaming. So that can be a little bit annoying. And then there's obviously translation issues because this is like all kinds of languages coming together in one homogenized product here. So pretty standard to all the other ones I've built. It really comes down to price point and does it have the games that you want. And so that's why I spent the time going through those collections, especially the ones that weren't complete. As far as people saying, hey, there's viruses on this, things like that, it is possible. You can always scan the drive if you want. You can also just put the drive on a secondary computer that's not even hooked up to your network at all and doesn't have a network card on it, or disable it. And, it is what it is. I think they all these drives fall into that department. The other thing is they tend to give you the lower grade hard drives. You're not giving you the top tier ones, so keep that in mind. You can copy these drives. There's nothing stopping you from dragging and dropping this onto your own drive or giving it to somebody else. So there's that as well. But that's what I think. Let me know what you all think. To me, there's like 2 or 3 companies that are selling such a similar device in this 2 terabyte range that gives you the AAA games and the emulators. At this point, it's maybe one might have a particular game that you don't have. But at the end of the day, if it was me, I would just shop by price if I wanted one. If I didn't want one, I would build it myself. So that's what I think. Let me know what you all think. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one.